But the most important question, hey Shadow, are you a vegan? No? No, you're not a vegan either? Alright, I'll let you go. Okay, good boy. Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you have seen some of my videos already and are returning, welcome back. Either way, you are most welcome. Today we're going to be continuing with the vegan series I started, and this is going to be the first video talking about some of the arguments for veganism. This one specifically is all about whether being vegan is a healthier dietary option or not. So stay tuned and enjoy. There are some good reasons to be a vegan, in my opinion. They have generally four main areas that cover most of the reasons vegans have for being vegan. And I'm going to go into those and into my opinions on them. So first of all, the first reason is that it's a healthier option. Before I get into that, I want to make a side note here where to prepare for this, although I have friends who are vegan, I have researched this a lot over the years. I actually tried to be vegan myself at one point. It didn't work. I realized that to me, animal protein just does something different for my body than other forms of protein. I was miserable. I tried to be vegan for a month actually, but I lasted about 2.5 weeks and I was like, nah, I can't do this. Anyway, so I was reading some articles online to try and prepare for this because I didn't know if any of the arguments had changed or not in that time. I've been aware of this issue for a long time, and I was very good at I've become very good at arguing against veganism. Not that actually, for the most part, I would argue against it. I would just point out that it's up to the individual to decide what's best for them. So I decided to kind of become current on my knowledge, and so I read a lot of articles that pretended to be factual, when in fact were just opinion pieces written by vegans that listed the numerous reasons to go vegan. Some were legit reasons, others very not so much. But what I found very funny about these articles is, in order to not look biased or to appear unbiased, a lot of these articles had a section that are like, why not be the reasons not to be a vegan. What I found interesting is there was only 1 or 2 articles out of like maybe the 10 to 15 that I read that actually had a reason within that chapter or paragraph. Most of them were like, oh, we can't think of one reason not to be vegan in 2022. How silly of you. Yeah, unbiased articles, my ass. I can think of one off the top of my head. There are certain people, I believe certain people with autoimmune diseases that find if they eat red meat, it helps with their autoimmune disease, or just red meat. So, I mean, that's one example. Now, I'm obviously not a doctor nor an expert in any of that, and I could be very wrong, but that is what I've read, that's what I've seen. And Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about how he has to have a purely beef diet, and although he doesn't recommend it if you don't have to do it for anyone, it does seem to be improving his health. So there are examples that can be shown that it is better for some people. By the way, if you read any article online and the person writing the article has a section that says, oh, the reasons against it and then can't think of one reason, that's because they're not trying hard enough, because there are always reasons against everything. And that just shows their bias. So, like I said, there are basically all the reasons can be boiled down into four main reasons for being a vegan. And some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. So the first main reason is that veganism is a healthier option when it comes to food. This has been a narrative for a very long time. This narrative has been challenged recently. So in 2019, a group of 14 health researchers led by epidemiologist Dr. Bradley Johnson of Dalhousie University, university here in Ontario. Basically, they used a well-established technique called meta-analysis. And what they did was they gathered 61 studies that had been done previously. And by the way, these 61 studies covered 4 million participants. It was the largest meta-analysis to date of this type. And it looked at the relationship between eating red meat and the risk of cardiac disease, stroke, or diabetes. And basically the conclusion was that most of these studies, there was a flaw in either their way of gathering their information, or there was a flaw in their conclusion. Basically, what this meta-analysis came to realize was there is a slight possibility or increased chance of getting cardiac disease, stroke, or diabetes from eating red meat, but they couldn't rule out that red meat was even directly responsible for that chance. This is a causation versus correlation issue. So causation is cause and effect. So one thing causes another. So for instance, I turn the heat up, the room gets hotter. Correlation means there's a connection, but not directly. There's something else connecting both of those two things. A good example of this, by the way, is, for instance, higher ice cream sales lead to shark attacks. You can actually go online, type that in, higher ice cream sales lead to higher shark attacks. If you look at the graph, both graphs are basically identical. As ice cream sales go up, so do shark attacks. Well, there's an obvious reason for this, and it's not ice cream sales that are causing these shark attacks. What's happening is the temperature is getting warmer. When it's warmer out, more people want to buy ice cream because they're hot and they want to cool down. What else do people want to do when they want to cool down? They want to go swim in the ocean. What's in the ocean? Sharks. So as more people swim in the ocean, more people get bit by sharks. That is how those two are correlated. It's the warmer temperatures that are the cause of both. And so they have that correlation, but they're not directly cause and effect of each other. So basically what they figured is they believe it's mostly genetic. Your predisposition to, cardiac disease, stroke, or diabetes is mainly based on your genetics. And their conclusion was they wouldn't worry about recommending eating red meat unless you yourself wanted to stop. And basically they said make that decision for yourself. Some people genetically should not probably eat red meat if they are much highly at risk to cardiac disease or stroke or diabetes. But they can't actually, there's no real evidence after this survey or after this meta-analysis of the other studies that suggests that eating that would actually cause it. So now there is a slight flaw or a potential for a flaw in this study. I'm aware that it came out after this study that Dr. Bradley Johnson, the lead researcher on this large meta-analysis, didn't report that he was being funded by a farming lobbying group for a different study he was doing at the same time as he was doing this one. Now, he should have reported that for sure. I don't know why he didn't. But I will point out that these are two different studies, and he was not the only person involved in this one, and the other people involved did not come to different conclusions than he did. And obviously no one other than the researchers on the study know for sure. But I don't believe that the amount of money that he was getting paid did anything to bias this study. Now, maybe I'm naive, I don't know. I can say that there have been a lot of climate scientists who have been paid by the oil and gas companies who have come out with studies that have condemned oil and gas for stuff they do. Generally, they'll sign a deal. So scientists will sign a deal with whatever group is paying them for the study, and basically that deal is, you are going to pay me for this study, but no matter what the result is, I don't know the result now because I haven't done the study yet, but no matter what the result is, I am allowed to publish the findings. Now, could that money push them towards finding one finding over another? Potentially. That's why you have peer reviews. That's one of the things they look for in peer-reviewed publishing when it comes to studies. What I found interesting though was the majority of the criticism after this study came out were from groups that benefited from the whole idea of veganism being the healthier option. So places like heart and stroke foundations, cancer societies, and whatnot. A lot of those groups have attacked eating red meat as bad for you, and they have gotten a lot of money over the years from groups that are more anti-red meat. And so if all of a sudden the science is saying the opposite, that's potentially damaging the money that they would bring in. And all of these groups claimed that this new information went against conventional wisdom, but then presented no evidence to counter the findings or to prove that the findings were wrong in any way. By the way, it was conventional wisdom that you remove blood from a sick person to help them get better, aka bloodletting. And we know now that it does not work except in a few very rare circumstances, and potentially led to the deaths of people who had been bloodletted. We look back constantly and say, God, we were stupid about that, or thank God we didn't live back then, because those conventional wisdoms were very, very wrong. And I do want to highlight one criticism that I found. I'm not going to name him, but one Harvard professor pointed out that this study shouldn't be taken as seriously as medical or pharmaceutical studies because those are more rigorous. That is true. They are more rigorous, but can anyone see the problem with his view on this? Well, after he made that point, he also pointed to other previous non-medical or pharmaceutical studies that in his own words shouldn't be taken as seriously as being better evidences one way or the other. So he's discounting this one because it's not a medical or pharmaceutical study, and yet he's promoting others that are also not pharmaceutical or medical society medical. studies because he likes the result of one over the other. Well, if they're all flawed, then shouldn't they all be flawed? And as a professor, you should know that. But, you know, it is what it is. So in my opinion, this one has been debunked. Maybe evidence in the future will come out. The fact that this study covered 4 million individuals, obviously the bigger the sample size, the better the results are going to be. And like I said, this is one of the biggest studies that has ever come out on this. Maybe in the future we do one that's 1 billion people, and then great. I'm all for it. I'm all for that. Let's see what actually, the bigger your sample size, the more fine-tuned your result is going to be. So I'm all for more information on this. And you know what? If people disagree with the results of the study, then go out and do another study and prove it wrong. No one's been able to yet, by the way. Now, it's only been a couple of years, but no one has even come close. So I think this one has debunked, in my opinion. I think that it's a convenient argument for people, but it's no longer correct. We know better now. So what do you think? Even with the evidence provided in this video, do you still think being vegan is a healthier dietary option? Do you think that the meta-analysis should stand, or do you think it should just be thrown away based on the fact that it could potentially have been damaged by the funding for another study by a farm lobbying group? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and if not, hey, that's totally up to you. I hope you have a good day, week, or however long until you see my next video. Until then, I will see you. Bye-bye.